And I'm going to call the meeting to order. And we're going to start with the chair's report, which I'm just going to point out the role of the school committee for everyone to understand. The school committee in each city and town and each regional school district shall have the power to select and to terminate the superintendent, shall review and approve budgets for public education in the district, and shall establish educational goals and policies for the schools in the district consistent with the requirements of law and statewide goals and standards established by the Board of Education. So this is the first meeting that Dr. Burnham will be here in the school year. Yes. So welcome, Dr. Burnham.
Thank you.
So we have warrants to review and approve on the table. They're being passed around. And we have minutes from August 15th, regular session, that were updated. Did you guys have time to review them?
Yes.
So I will take a motion to approve them.
I can move to approve the minutes of the Wednesday, August 15th, regular school committee meeting.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we have the superintendent's report.
Okay, so we have a lot to report. First off, don't know, I hope most of you noticed that we have new banners.
I did notice.
Along the entryway into the complex. Those banners were the gift of the class of 2017. They look
great.
Fantastic, I think. Okay, so opening week was tough given Mother Nature's little heat wave last week. So I just wanted to let you know, again, we have another heat issue again this week. We've been monitoring the situation really closely. Obviously, this building is in much better shape to handle hot days. But we have been monitoring the primary school and Turkey Hill. We've taken measurements of temperatures in the classrooms and the temperatures inside the building, while uncomfortable, still don't reach the level of the air temperature outside. That said, we still provided additional bottled water, particularly over to Turkey Hill, to make sure that the kids stay hydrated and the staff as well. We've been checking in with the nurses and monitoring that we don't have health-related issues tied to the heat. Over the course of the last several days, we had one staff member go home heat-related. So I think all in all, we've weathered it pretty well. And I hope that the weather reports for tomorrow are accurate and that we have lovely fresh air and nice breezes so that we can open up the windows of the building and get some nice, comfortable air temperatures inside.
Did any kids go home? Any of the students?
We had a couple kids that went, down, spent a little bit of time, but
to cool off?
No illnesses. We did have, I believe, one dismissal that was a parent choice dismissal, but not a nurse dismissal due to illness. Okay. So, next up for opening day, actually. We did have one incident with dismissal and the bus. We had a kindergartner who should have been a parent pickup. It was noted on the registration forms and apparently the emergency information as well. That was missed by staff. The staff put the child on the bus. It was the appropriate bus given her address, but still, we attempted to make communication with the bus to confirm that the child was actually on the bus, and that presented a challenge because there are areas in town where apparently the radio signal doesn't come through. That's a fact that I was not aware of, and when I checked historically, the central office staff were never aware that we have dead zones on, I believe, 2 of the bus routes. Given the fact that we couldn't reach them by radio, it did take, in my mind, a significant amount of time to confirm that the child was actually safe and on the bus. So, issues of concern, making sure that students are properly identified and sent to the correct locations for transportation home. and the fact that we need to be able to connect with buses in circumstances like this in a much more timely way to confirm the whereabouts of a child. That said, Mr. McKenna, the interim principal of the primary, immediately, the first day of school, after the dismissal time, put several changes to dismissal protocol in place to happen the second day of school. We also had communication with the parents, who also had some good ideas about things that we could put in place that would help ensure that kiddos were getting to the right space that they need to be for pickup at the end of the day, getting to the right bus, etc., etc. We've also had communication with the bus company. We've also had communication with the police department. And there is some conversation around being able to match the frequencies that the bus radios use with the police radios so that they could be communicating by radio. We're still going to have the challenge of the dead areas to deal with where no radio signal goes through. But in these cases, to confirm the whereabouts, we would, in the protocols now being rewritten, contact the police department right away. The police department would dispatch a cruiser. The cruiser would go out to the bus route, find the bus, confirm that the child is present, and we would have that information in a much more timely way. The fact that any parent had to endure not knowing where their 5-year-old child was, it's a horrible thing. And I don't want any parent to ever have to feel that way. So we do take this very seriously, and we will continue to work on improving communications through work with the police department and the bus company. We've put triple checks in place now as far as confirming transportation home, student parent pickup, bus, etc. I feel that Ms. McKenna did a really good job jumping into action to put things in place, and we had no repeat circumstances day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So I feel that the corrections that he put in place have been pretty effective.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Because I saw the emails, and the mother was in the pickup line. So I'm just wondering how we could have communicated more effectively with the buses that were in the circle so that they wouldn't leave and that they could have pulled the child off the bus at that time.
Yeah, so out at the pickup area, outside, we have staff, but they don't all have radios. So communication up along a bus route can take some time. I think that we need to take a look at that. Perhaps we need additional radios out at dismissal time so that we can communicate, up a chain of buses more quickly. So that the chain of communication was way too slow. The fact that the buses were present and were able to leave without having this resolved, it can't happen.
Right.
It
Correct.
can't happen.
And it shouldn't have.
Yeah, correct. But we'll look to, take a look and see if we need to
Get more
increase.
walkies.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
could use more walkies on the play area too.
Definitely.
So maybe we should just look into more walkie-talkies
Sure.
for that school.
Yep. Any other questions on that one? Okay. I also wanted to update, in the context of a public meeting, that we were experiencing some email glitches over the last handful of weeks that we didn't even realize until about 2-3 days ago. The email glitch actually is the reason why we're meeting on Thursday night instead of Wednesday night, because normally what we do is send an email with an attachment off to Town Hall to post our meeting agendas. We send it off to the chair to confirm that that's the agenda that we want to post. Before we send it to Town Hall, emails were not going to the recipient, although it appears that it has gone.
I still haven't gotten them.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where they've gone to. Limbo somewhere?
They're not in my inbox.
Email heaven? I don't know. But I can tell you that once we figured out that emails, and I was having an issue even sending an email to Liz Peterson right outside my office. Didn't get it. So we knew something was kind of going on, but it really came to light over the posting of the agenda. The IT department got right on it. Apparently it was an issue not within our systems. We have a host server for the email, and we also have a different vendor that does the spam filtering. And apparently it was a combination of the spam filtering and the host site, and they believe that it's resolved. We'll probably be doing double checking to be sure that people have gotten things, particularly very important things. But I think it's worth mentioning in a public session so that, members of the community, if they have emailed and have not received an email response, know that we were having some technical difficulties. And again, I know I sent emails. They appeared in my sent folder. They never arrived to the recipient. So we think...
They're in spam.
We don't know where they are.
It was a Lunenburg Online issue, LunenburgOnline.com issue, because I know our police department experienced some issues also.
It was townwide.
It was townwide, yes.
Yeah. So, and again, because Mr. Malandrinos takes care of the schools and the town, he was on the track to get the solution here. And it took, they worked at it for 2 days, verified that there was nothing on our end that was the cause. And at that point, the vendors that handled the rest of the email system then recognized that, well, we need to check what's going on our end, and apparently it's been rectified. We hope so.
I did notice that on the website that there is that announcement, so
Yeah, it's
people
on
go to the
school
website.
Yeah,
On the
it's right
front
there.
page.
Yeah. We're trying to
Get the message
get the
out.
message out as best we can, and right now, the website's working pretty well. So we've been using the website. Okay. I wanted also to make you aware that we submitted a literacy grant. It's more of a competitive grant. It's not one of the entitlement grants. And we will use that money if we are awarded the grant to focus on literacy instruction at the primary school. And we're pretty excited about that, and we have fingers crossed. And I want to thank Mr. McKenna. When I saw that grant was posted, not knowing who my strong literacy teachers would be as a go-to, and knowing that the deadline to submit the grant was last week. And, having an interim principal, it might be a bit much to ask an interim principal to work on a grant proposal. Mr. McKenna stepped right up, did a fantastic job, used his background from his time working with the Department of Ed on literacy to help us shape the grant proposal. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we get some additional monies to work on literacy for early grades.
And when will you know?
I don't know that they posted a date by which they would be announcing the recipients and the allocations.
There's a big professional development, is it all right to speak?
Yep.
There's a big professional development piece that's attached to it, and typically it starts, if it follows the practice of the previous literacy grants, it typically starts in October. So I would expect that we should hear fairly soon.
Okay.
So fingers crossed. We're going to do the work anyway, but
It would be nice.
it would be nice to have a little bit of grant funding. I also wanted to provide you an update on my entry plan. So at this point, several forums have been posted, and I just want to be clear that the forum really is primarily, first and foremost, for me to get answers to those questions that were part of my entry plan, get the perspective of parents and community members, youth organizations, and so on to those questions. I'm also happy to have feedback or questions or hear other concerns, and I am happy to have follow-up forums on topics that might emerge through the forums. So the dates have been posted on the website, and we'll be blasting them out to all of the parents as well. So there are 3 parent forums. 2 will be on September 17th, one in the morning, 9 to 10:30, another in the afternoon, 5:30 to 7. The third one will be on September 19th in the middle of the day from 12:30 to 2. I tried to find different blocks of time during the day so that, perhaps more folks could participate. Community forums on September 10th from 9 to 10:30, September 18th from 5:30 to 7, and I'll be reaching out to different youth organizations to meet with them September 20th from 5:30 to 7. And all of these forums will be held at the TCP.
Which room?
The cafeteria.
Oh, okay.
All right. So we also have an update for personnel. All positions have been filled. And you have a more detailed listing of the positions and who all has been placed in those positions at the different buildings. Any questions about?
Are some of them here?
Some of them are here. I'm very excited to have some of them here. This is the annual meeting where the principals come and discuss how the opening back to school went. So as part of their update, they will be providing a little bit of a bio on each of the new staff members.
Yep.
And if they're here, we'll ask them to stand up so that they can be recognized. You can have a name and a face. Okay, so since it's open house here at the middle school tonight, I think I'd like to ask Mr. Santry to come up first to give his back-to-school update.
Thank you, Doug.
So that he can get back to open house.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here to kind of give an update on how our first couple weeks of school have gone. So with your permission, I just want to talk about our new hires, our new members of our faculty, and then I'll just kind of give you a brief update on how things have gone in the first couple of weeks. Our first new hire was our 7th grade math science teacher, Catherine Antea. Catherine has her master's degree from Fitchburg State University in middle school education. She also has 5 years experience teaching in middle school. Prior to that, she taught and worked at a residential treatment facility for adolescents, so she's really schooled in some behavior management and classroom management skills. She's also just has a positive energy, wants to support student activities. She was a soccer coach, a track coach. She's helped organize fundraisers such as 5Ks and different things for middle schools. Has been a great addition to our 7th grade teaching team so far. Our next addition was a .6 ELA teacher, which is Michael Workman. A funny story, he's a graduate of Fitchburg State University in June of 2018. His major was secondary education, and he had a minor in English. And actually, Mr. Workman came in for an interview for a short long-term sub-leave in the high school. And the English department head and her teachers and administrators recognized the talent they had here and didn't want to let that go and wanted to capture that for Lunenburg, so actually recommended him for the position in the middle school. So then he had a second interview with the administration in the middle school, and that's how he got that position. Prior to college, after high school, Mr. Workman served in the United States Marine Corps. He has a positive energy and a rapport with students that you usually don't see in a first-year teacher, and I look forward to working with him. All reports and my classroom visits have all been positive so far. And I just would like to take, I know you, Dr. Burnham, introduced some, and I'm sorry, my teachers can't be here, like Dr. Burnham had mentioned, we have open house, so I wanted them to be able to meet with parents at this time that we had allotted for it, so unfortunately they're unable to be here, but they give their apologies for not being able to come. But I would like to congratulate Annika Scott. Annika, you just want to stand just for a second? And her appointment as assistant principal of Lunenburg 6 through 12. She's worked tirelessly in the administrative office for LMHS over the past 2 years. She's been an integral part of our success as an organization in our transition to the new building, to the new 6 through 12. Her ability to effectively work with parents and students and faculty is an asset to both buildings. So I just, congratulations, Annika.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to continuing to work with you. So, first days of school have been wonderful. Kids coming in ready to learn, teachers prepared for them. You know, the first 4 or 5 days is really about relationship setting and relationship building between the teachers and the students. Our goal this year is, as part of our strategic plan, is that social emotional component, but not necessarily what program we're doing. We do developmental design. We're looking more about how do we create this strong school community? What makes a great middle school? As part of my presentation. Really what makes a great middle school is that students feel comfortable, that they feel like they're part of that community, that they want to come to school. And part of that is providing clubs and activities, and we have this pilot program with middle school field hockey this year that is self-funded. Practice began today. 33 middle school students out for middle school field hockey, shin pads, mouth guards, paperwork done, all ready to go, ready to move on the first day of practice. Very impressive. We have our photography club, our student government, our science Olympiad that had over 50 students sign up for that last year, and after not having that program for 5 to 6 years, we placed 13th in the state against any of all other of those STEM programs in the science piece. Not allowed to talk about our MCAS scores yet, but at a later date, we'll talk about what our science and technology scores look like. Our one-to-one initiative that we're able to roll out without purchasing one additional Chromebook for 8th grade went very well. Students actually got their Chromebooks on Tuesday the 4th. I thought that was a really good turnaround time. Having some discussions with parents, like when you get a textbook, it might not be in pristine condition, but they are all working computers. Try to emphasize that this isn't a new Chromebook initiative. All the Chromebooks that we have been used by the 8th grade in the past. All have been passed through IT to make sure that they're usable and everything's working. So just a little bit of those glitches. Everyone was expecting to open up a box of a brand new Chromebook, and that didn't happen. So, and tonight during our open house, as you can see some of our 6th grade tours going through to look at the building, we have a program. It's the first time we've been able to offer this to middle school students. It's in conjunction with the district attorney. It's called Hidden in Plain Sight. So the DA comes in, it's set up in our collaborative space, and it's a teenager's bedroom. And they show us things that might show us that our students are engaging in some high-risk behaviors. There's what does a jewel look like? What does a vape pen look like? Where could they be hidden? What's this Pringles can that has a false bottom? Or what's this Coke can that you can screw the top off on? Just some pamphlets and information. The parents that I've talked to have just been extremely pleased that we're providing that, because not just in Lunenburg and not just in middle schools, the vaping and the Juuls are rampant. So we want to make sure parents have the information that they need or that they see if they walk by their child's bedroom, and might look like a normal water bottle but possibly isn't, or what those vape pens look like. So overall, just an excellent start to the year. I'm looking forward to working with all the students that we have. Our 6th grade is wonderful. We are at 396. And we have all of our teachers in place. One thing that I kind of bragged about at open house was our attendance rate, which is extremely high for not only for middle school but all schools. Like today, I'm sorry, I said 396. We had 2 new students today, so we're up to 398. We had 2 students that were absent today. 398 students population, we had 2 that were absent. And that's not the norm for every day, but that is a tribute, I think, to creating an environment that feels safe and welcoming and comforting for kids to come to every day. Do you have any questions that I could answer about the first day or first week? With your permission, do you mind if I head back to the open house just to see if there's any parents? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Shall we go to high school next? Yeah. Mr. McGrath?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. With your permission, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the first few weeks of school, and we have a few more hires than middle school, so it'll take me a little bit longer to go through some. And a lot of them are here this evening. So, the one that was not able to make it because of some child care conflicts, her name is Amanda Dugan. She is a new teacher in our Special Education Achieve program. Amanda spent 9.5 years with the Air Shirley Public Schools. She kind of started out in their younger grades and has kind of gone through the gamut all through their special ed program. Her last teaching stint was at the high school level, so I think her last couple of years was at the high school level in their Achieve program. She has a bachelor's and a master's degree from Fitchburg State, and that is in severe special education with a minor in math. Amanda has hit the ground with her feet running. She is an extremely veteran teacher. Everything I've seen in that classroom, she knows exactly what she's doing, and she has a vision for the program. So I've been very, very happy. I've checked in with quite a few of the teachers that she has to work with, and it has started off really, really well. So, that's a program where that teacher has to go in and sort of set the schedules and get those kiddos into classrooms, and there's a lot to do there. There's a lot of administrative work for that particular teacher because those schedules aren't, set right at the beginning. I knew immediately I was dealing with a veteran teacher. She was great. She was just right into it, ready to go, and getting those kiddos right where they needed to be. One of the first questions she had asked was about our Best Buddies program, because a lot of that goes through her classroom. So, those were the things that shined in her interview, was wanting to be involved in the school community. And so, within her first 2 days, she's, what's going on with Best Buddies? I want to get that going. So, been very, very happy with that hire. The next person I would like to introduce is Todd. Todd is here. There it is. Todd is in our Special Education Transition Program. Todd was a teacher at Shrewsbury High School. Todd has a bachelor's degree in journalism from UMass Amherst and a master's degree in education from Simmons College. Todd also has a transition certificate from UMass Boston, which is something we're certainly going to tap into with those kiddos, and certainly trying to work going forward and what they want to do after they receive a diploma from Lunenburg. Todd is also, I'm glad he's here, because any minute he's expecting, his wife is expecting a child. So Todd certainly wanted to be here, and he's like, I hope to be here. If I'm not, I think you'll know why. So, so it's good to have you here, Todd. Thank you.
Thanks.
Carrie? Carrie? Kerry McKinnon is new to our special education inclusion teacher group. Kerry has 21 years of educational experience and was teaching in Athol, Mass. From grades 5 to 8 in a self-contained classroom. Kerry has a bachelor's degree in history from Westfield State and a master's degree in special education from Salem State. And, you know, again, Kerry, all the conversations I've had, her interview was excellent. She is definitely a veteran teacher and been around a while, and things have gone very well with the education, with the special education staff. We've had a lot of transition this year in that particular group. That's kind of a small group. We have 3 inclusion special education teachers, and then we have the Achieve program and the transition program, and basically half that group is kind of changed out this year. We don't, that can be relatively common for a lot of special education positions, but we've had the luxury over the past 6 or 7 years in Lunenburg that we have not had that. So this year there has been some change. I'm very happy with the new energy. I'm very happy with how things are going. Things are going very, very well with that group. I've been in contact with Mr. Kojo, who is the new department head in that group, and he's been very happy as well. So I feel like that transition has gone well. We'll continue to monitor. We're going to continue to support. But, you know, a lot of the teachers are veteran teachers, so I don't expect there to be many hiccups going forward. We then have Brad. I thought I saw Brad. Brad is here. Brad is new to the teaching profession. He is taking over for the Anna Keegan retirement, so we went through the interview process very early on at the end of last year. Brad has a degree in history from Stonehill College, and Brad completed his student teaching practicum at Attleboro High School. And when we were going through that interview process back in the springtime of last year, that was a very competitive hire. There were quite a few candidates. Brad was the unanimous vote of that committee. And like I said, it was very competitive, but Brad really shined in the interview. And when we called about some of his references, I think the best thing you can hear from any reference is, if I had a position, we would be offering it to him. We just don't have a position. So he got some glowing references. And for a very competitive field, you know, Brad was the unanimous hire for that group. And then we have the situation where we had Mr. Robert Truax, who had been promoted, so about a week and a half before school was about to go underway, I found out that I was losing my calculus teacher, and so we immediately posted it, and we got people in. And Casey is a Lunenburg, he's a Lunenburg alumni. He's Lunenburg through and through. Casey is joining our math team from the Leominster Center for Excellence, which teaches grades 9 through 12. Casey has a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Assumption College, and he was in the master's program, or kind of still is at Fitchburg. He's kind of working through that. That program has currently changed, so he's got to kind of connect with Fitchburg and either find another degree program or see if that program can work for him. So as he was going through his master's, that changed. So he's currently working on that as well. Been into his class. Things are going well. Casey's been a great addition. And on that note, with my math teacher taking a promotion, I want to commend the staff. I also want to commend all the students and the parents that I've worked with. When a teacher leaves and you have to change a whole schedule, there's a lot of changes that happen there. And once you start to change one thing in a master schedule, things just kind of have a domino effect. So the students have been excellent with some of the moves. I've had some calls from parents just trying to inquire and question about, you know, why did the schedules change. And I just explained it, was extremely transparent about, you know, the situation. And I don't like changing kids' schedules. It's not something that we want to do it a week and a half before school. But they understood. They understood it was a teacher that took a promotion, and you know, we hired someone, and then we had to just kind of make it work with, you know, finding a certified calculus teacher and AP Calc. They don't fall off trees. Those are very high positions to fill. So everyone was understanding. Family, communities, students, that was the first thing I said to the students when I met them on the first day. I thanked them for being understanding. The guidance department worked tirelessly to get all those schedules going. I was a little concerned. I thought there was going to be a line out the door on the first day. but there was not. The guidance team had come in kind of a week before. They had set up a lot of meetings with parents and students came in, and we made it work. And that was a lot of effort by the staff, a lot of effort by the kids. So I was very happy. We made the best of the situation, and we just went to work and we did it. So I thought that went very, very well. Just to kind of piggyback a little bit what Mr. Santry said about hidden in plain sight, I am also going to be running that program on my open house next week. I'm making it clear, especially to the parents. I'm going to be sending out an email that it is for adults and it is for parents. It's an exhibit. I think it's very informational. I think it's going to help parents because these are just everyday household items, and it's amazing how much thought can go into the marketing of these and just basic items that you see on a nightstand and what they can actually be used for. So I'm hoping, I know Mr. Santry, he's received some positive response from parents. I hope I receive the same, and I will certainly be open to that. I want to be down in the exhibit when my parents are going through it as well. But I'm hoping that'll just be a very informative thing for all the parents to go through. And it's just awareness. I just think that helps because going back to my health teacher days, would always stress to the parents on open house as well as the students that I was teaching. In today's day and age with the opioid crisis and decisions that kids can get into, anyone can make a poor choice, and it's scary what is out there in today's day, and the easy access, especially with online communication and how kids can buy things now with just gift cards. And so I think it's important. I think information is a huge help, and it helps parents just kind of be able to have those conversations if something's off with their child. And just knowing is half the battle, because then when you have that knowledge, you're able to have those conversations with your 16 or your 17-year-old, and a lot of times they can sense it, but if they don't have that information, they can't place what might be going on. So I'm hoping that will be very powerful for my parents, and I'm certainly open to feedback from you as well as from my parents on how it goes. I walked through the exhibit tonight. I thought it went well. I thought the parents from the middle school liked it, so I'm hoping to get the same response from my high school parents. Opening went well. We distributed our Chromebooks to 10th graders. So currently right now at the high school, 10th grade through 12th grade have their Chromebooks. Our freshmen have not received their Chromebooks yet because the covers have not come in. As of today, when I checked with the tech team, they were trying to track that down when they're coming in. They had told me that it was probably not going to be this week, so I had kind of planned in my 2-week look-ahead letter when I sent out to families and the students that it was probably going to be sometime next week. So once I have that information, I want to get those distributed as quickly as I can to all of the freshmen so they can get into Google Classroom, Google Docs, and be getting into their classes with their technology. So I have been very happy with the start. Things have gone well. I've checked in, with the students at lunch. Most students have been happy that I've checked in with about the start. They always say summer is too short, but overall, I think things have gone very, very well. Can I answer any questions about the start of the year? Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Next one on the seat. Good evening. I have 2 new hires to tell you about. I have a young Mr. Nathaniel Blankenship. He's our new music teacher. He has a master's degree in music education out of the Boston Berkeley Music School. He has a year of student teaching behind him, so he's poised and ready. He's a little anxious, but he is working his heart out and doing an excellent job. And in fact, he came in on, I think it was August 22nd that evening, to present the band and chorus opportunities for 5th graders. So nice to come up for that. And we also have Dr. Allison Pigeon. She's shared between myself and primary school. She's a veteran teacher and psychologist, most recently working out of Deerfield, Illinois. Let me see. She attended Loyola University of Chicago. She has a Doctor of Philosophy in Psychology. She was in Deerfield Public School District in Illinois, but originally from this area and has moved back. She gave a wonderful presentation on the first day of school to my staff about response to intervention techniques. She was very well received, and we're delighted to have her. So those are my 2 new hires. I would tell you the same, that we've had a wonderful start, except it's been really hot. And unlike this lovely building, we've struggled a little with that. But we're hung in there, and as Dr. Burnham said, we're praying that tomorrow it's cooler weather. Better trend. So we have 372 students currently enrolled. Class sizes range from 22 to 24. Our 5th grade is the biggest. So we have 6 sections of 5th grade. We have 136 students in 5th grade. Let's see. Next Wednesday, on September 12th, we'll have our open house. And 3rd and 4th grade parents are invited from 5 to 6:10. Then we have about a 20-minute break because we have limited parking. So we kind of do a turnabout. And at 6:30 to 8 o'clock, we'll have grade 5 parents in. Theirs is a little bit longer so that they can have a nature's classroom information session from 7:30 to 8. The other things we're looking forward to, on Friday, September 14th, is the end of our Box Top Summer Contest. The 5th grade winner actually gets a full Nature's Classroom scholarship. Our Box Top parent she's all in, and she launched quite a program this summer for Box Tops collections. And the 4th grade winner gets a gift basket full of goodies. Friday the 14th, we have our Penny Wars rally, and the contest will be during the week on the 17th to the 21st. So we've already worked with PTO to get that lined up. No, I'm not shaving my head if they raise a certain amount of money, but we'll do something. Nature's Classroom starts the week of October 1st. Our Girls on the Run program starts on Monday, September 24th. On September 17th, our after-school music program starts. We also are offering an after-school chess program through Jess Beardmore, one of the staff members here at the high school. And I believe that starts on September 24th as well. And finally, one of the new little things that we're trying is I've contracted for the month of September with a company called POSSIP. So what they do is they text, message, and email parents on every Friday, and they ask just 3 simple questions. Are you happy with your child's school this week? Do you have any positive praise? Do you have any concerns or feedback? And since everybody's on their phone so frequently, I thought it was an interesting experiment. And then that information comes back to them, and they'll synthesize it and create a report for me on Mondays so that I can review. So for example, if there are several parents who are concerned about parking issues or drop-off issues, I'll be able to address that right away. We are always looking to improve our communication with the community, but so often it feels one-sided, right? I send out a newsletter, I don't hear anything back. Unless it's bad news, I don't hear anything back. So I'm wondering if this will be an immediate, direct way for parents to give feedback, really quick feedback. My child had a great week this week, or the teacher went above and beyond for him or her, or something else, and if they'll feel comfortable to contact them, let me know that. So we're going to try it out this month of September, see how it goes, see what kind of feedback we get, and then we'll take it from there. Any questions?
Well, who's running the Girls on the Run this year?
Girls on the Run will be Elena Oksanich and Danielle Salona. Anything else?
Does possible cost?
Yeah, it does, and that's why I can only do it as a pilot, right? So it's $250 for the month, and I don't think that I can afford that for the year. But if it's great, maybe I could talk to the PTO, and maybe they'd be willing to help. So, but I just want to try it out.
And membership is monthly?
They only did that because, right, they originally pitched it, and then once I found out the price, I was like, So then they said, well, how about if you try it for a month? I said, okay. I don't think I could go month to month. I think
Is it quarterly or annually?
it's annual.
It's annual.
Yeah.
What is the cost?
So it's 10 months at $2,500. Right?
Thank you. Thank you.
And lastly, Mr. McKenna.
Hi. So I'm pleased to have my first opportunity to join you at school committee tonight. I am Steve McKenna, lifelong resident of Lexington, husband, father of two. My son turned 28 today. My daughter is 33 and a half. I'm a retired school principal who, when I saw the posting for this interim position, was very excited at the prospect of working with a pre-K2 population. To come into the school and see the beautiful facility and the energy that naturally comes from a pre-K2 school, it's so far a wonderful fit for me, and I'm thoroughly enjoying coming out of retirement to take on this role. I've had the opportunity, and this is something that you relish as a new principal or as a principal, to hire some new staff. I was able to hire a kindergarten teacher, Carly Surrett. Carly has a bachelor's degree from Assumption, a master's degree from Merrimack College. She's licensed as an early childhood teacher, pre-K2, a grade 1 through 6 teacher, and also a teacher with moderate disabilities, pre-K through 8. Most recently, she taught kindergarten at St. Joseph Elementary School in Needham. She also has some first grade experience prior to that, so she comes with a sense of where the kids are going from kindergarten to first grade. My second hire was more challenging. On August 15th, the technology teacher, the .52 technology teacher, resigned. And you don't find technology teachers looking for .52 jobs in August. Fortunately, the high school was looking for a math teacher. So when I looked through the technology applications and didn't see anybody who would be qualified, I said, I'll look at the high school math positions. And I also looked at the elementary music positions. And David Ng was hired as our technology teacher for K through 2. His bachelor's degree is from Carnegie Mellon University. His Master's of Arts in Teaching is from Boston University. He's licensed as a math teacher 5 through 9 and 9 through 12. But for the past 8 years, he has run his own company, Vertical Learning Labs, and he's the founder and chief learning officer. That has been really focused on 21st century learning skills, really tied in with technology, engineering, and he comes with a great level of excitement around how to bring that to a K2 population. I was fortunate over the summer to meet with the parent reps for the school council, and one of our parent reps is a tech person for the Cambridge Public Schools. So he has already offered to provide some supports for David. I reached out to the 2 technology integration specialists I worked with when I was in the Lincoln Public Schools. Both of them have already reached out to David with some beginning lesson plans, some structures around how to set up the lesson in the first 6 to 10 weeks of school. And I also connected with MassQ, the Massachusetts Computer Education Group, and there's a Java-like group that he can join in order to have resources for teaching in the area of technology. He started in a really strong way by looking to teach in the context of the kids' classrooms. So rather than having his own space, he's teaching in kindergarten classrooms, he's teaching in first grade classrooms. So the structure of the room is already there, and he's building off of that structure to deliver his lessons. So that the major focus of his effort isn't around setting up a room and building a classroom structure. He's just piggybacking on the classroom teachers. I applaud the classroom teachers for affording him that opportunity. He's also got the mentoring program with one of our kindergarten teachers who's the mentor for the primary school, also supporting him in this role. And I have really great excitement that he's going to add to one of our school improvement goals this year, which really takes a look at expanding on 21st century learning skills. We've hired a number of paraprofessionals as well, and my practice is usually to look for licensed teachers, and I was successful in finding Robin Dance, who is a Bachelor of Science from Bridgewater, licensed teacher, early childhood, pre-K through 3. Tracy DeAngelis is a new paraprofessional, bachelor's degree from Westfield State, Framingham State College, master's degree. She's licensed early childhood, pre-K through 2. Marcy Donahue has a bachelor's from Clark University, a master of education from Lesley. She's licensed early childhood, pre-K through 3. Kelly Dembitsky is a recent graduate of Fitchburg State University with a Bachelor of Science. She's licensed early childhood, pre-K through 2. Amy Cowley has a bachelor's degree in human services from Fitchburg State College. Elizabeth Lorigan has a bachelor's degree from Fitchburg State, and she's also licensed early childhood, pre-K through 2. Bringing in licensed teachers to fill those roles, even though you think it's a little counterintuitive that people would take those roles when they're licensed teachers, my experience is that if you take those roles, people oftentimes will come back to me at the end of the year and say, I thought I was ready to teach. Now I know I'm ready to teach, because they've had the opportunity to see the whole year fold out. They've seen how classrooms are set up, and our students are having the benefit of an additional licensed teacher working with the class. So that's been a real positive. We have a new cafeteria monitor, Laura McKenzie, and she's really had a nice way with the kids as well. Our kindergarten class is really settling in. I understand they are one of the largest kindergartens in recent memory at about 147 kids. On August 14th, the PTO hosted a very well-attended kindergarten social, which took place on the playground, and kids had an opportunity to get a feel for who the other kids were in their class, and I really applaud the PTO for the organization that went into setting that up. We brought school buses so that the kids could have an initial ride and get a feel for what it was like to be on a bus, ran through some of the basic rules of riding a bus for safety. The beginning of a primary school year is really about routines and really thinking about how do you make kids understand and feel comfortable with the practices that take place in a school. Responsive classroom is a practice that our staff has had some professional development in. And for those of you that don't know, it's an evidence-based approach to education that really focuses on strong relationships between the academics and social-emotional learning. And it really empowers teachers to create safe, joyful, and engaging learning environments. There's kind of a mantra to responsive classroom as you're talking to kids. When you want them to learn how to go about something, it starts with what does it look like and what does it sound like. And if you really lay it out for kids in those basic terms and practice it over time, which is really the focus of those early weeks in a primary school, they start to have that sense of belonging, that sense of really feeling significant and understood. And those are important things for early learners. As Kate mentioned, the literacy instruction is a primary focus for us this year. We have professional development focused on Project READ, which is a direct, systematic, multisensory approach to literacy. We also have some training on Ames Web, a progress monitoring assessment that will look at both literacy and math skills and really keep an eye on what's the development of those skills. Are we hitting the marks? Are we targeting the standards? Are we keeping focused on where we should be for those early learners? Our open house is scheduled next Tuesday, September 11. The PTO will actually be holding an election for one open parent representative seat. We have 3 nominees who have self-nominated and provided a brief bio, which went out to the families today. We, too, are splitting the night between our population, so 3 of the first grades and grade 2 will be on site between 5 o'clock and 6:10. We'll also have a 20-minute break to kind of clear the parking areas, and 2 of the first grades and our kindergarten will be visiting the school between 6:30 and 7:30. Again, it's an exciting opportunity to come back to school and be part of this experience The leadership team that's in place that includes special ed teachers, includes preschool, kindergarten, first grade, second grade teachers. They've really been stepping up to give me the lay of the land for how the school runs. It's a shared leadership experience between me as principal and them as teachers, and I really value that model for enhancing how we run a school. My hat is off to Denise Galloway, the administrative assistant. She is extraordinary. She's in my head. She understands what I need before I even know I need it. And I also want to give a shout out to Chad Adams, who is the assistant principal and really has been a great resource for me, providing me with good background and good backup as issues arise and support in the building is needed. I'll take questions.
That's very thorough. And I have to commend you on your use of mentoring and looking for resources to help the new teachers in networking.
Thank you.
So I'll give the last back-to-school update for myself. It's been a fantastic couple of weeks. I've had an opportunity to get into every single building most days since school opened, as well as having the opportunity to ride the bus with the kids, which was a lot of fun for me, to get to talk to them without stealing time away in a classroom setting. And I actually had lunch over at the primary school today with a few tables full of students. So lots of good work going on. I've seen a lot of great classrooms, engaging lessons. Today I was in the middle school and saw a fantastic science lesson. So things are well underway and off to an exciting start. So to all the staff who came to say hello, you are free to go.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here.
So we're on to new business. Oh wait, no. Eliza, student reference report.
All right, hi everybody. I have a lot to report today. There's a lot going on at the school. With the start of the new year, everybody enjoyed a beautiful summer. I think most people came back refreshed from the end of last year. I want to recognize the new school website. Again, like you guys did, it's really useful, and I think a lot of students are finding it easier to use. I encourage people to check out the Nightly News, which is, there's a link right on the home page of the high school website. The Nightly News is a Lunenburg High School run club by Jill Lee. It's been around for a few years, but this year they're really pushing to make it something that people read and keep up with. They have a Nightly News website that will be linked from the high school website. They will talk about sports, student life, art, upcoming events. So if you're a student or a parent, that could be a really good resource to check up on game timing and results of games and such. I also encourage people to check out the school store, which was set up by the student council last year. The link to that is also on the high school website. So homecoming is right around the corner, and we have already picked our float theme, which will be decades this year. So everybody is very excited about that. Some interesting reactions. But yeah, we're excited. Homecoming is up to a ton of stuff right now. Floats will begin to be built in the next 3 weeks. Homecoming is October 20th. So then within Student Council, we had our Student Council elections from returning members last year. The president is Christopher Tobin. The vice president is myself. Gabby Como is the corresponding secretary. Emily Nash is the treasurer. Darnie Pinn is the recording secretary. And then we also have the freshman elections coming up next week. So that's when new members of the freshman class can run to be a part of the Student Council. Also, I want to encourage people to follow our social media accounts. We're making a Twitter for Lunenburg Student Council. That way people are just kept up to date with things that Student Council has accomplished, and also events like Homecoming and Powder Puff and stuff like that. I also wanted to briefly talk about something that Mr. Stevenson and I are working to put together at the start of this year. I'm looking to put forward a program called REV, which would be Register, Educate, and Vote. I'm in the AP government class right now, and we talk so much about politics, like all the time. That's what the entire class is about. And we talked a lot about our local and state elections coming up this year, and I thought it would be a cool idea to allow students within the class that are turning 18 to register to vote. And then also Mr. Stevenson and I would work together to put together like PowerPoints that would go out to students that are part of this REV thing. That would just quickly educate each student about the candidates in the upcoming election. Just brief PowerPoints, some helpful links that you can find more information about the candidates to just encourage voting. So. And then lastly, sports are all underway. Soccer won their first game against Quabbin earlier this week. The Lunenburg field hockey team tied last night against Hopedale, and the golf match that was yesterday unfortunately lost by 1 point. And then tomorrow we have the first football game at 7 o'clock against Oakmont. It will be at the Turf. So go Blue Knights. And then lastly, the soccer game, they had their first game at the beginning of this week. They unfortunately lost, and then their second game today was canceled. So
The girl.
yes, the girls. And that is it. That's the report. Everything's good at the high school, and everybody's happy to be starting. I mean, I wouldn't say happy to be starting school, but everybody is comfortable in school.
Your decade themes, what does the senior class pick?
We don't know yet. We'll know by Monday, so I can report actually everybody's picks by the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Very thorough.
Thank you.
As well. So our new business is fall athletics report. So, is there a new athletic director?
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally my fault.
On the sleep back there.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
So I think all of you have it. I put together. I hope what you were looking for fall athletic participation. This information was as of August 28th. I broke it down by sport per grade. Gave the overall participation as of that day, and the awesome number, which I'd like to see higher in the future, but 43% of the high school students are participating in fall sports. I think that's huge. That's, again, I would like to see it more, but 40% is a great number. Do you have any questions, concerns, comments?
The waivers that were requested for soccer and cross country.
Yes. So out of the 207 at the time of participants, 6 of those 207 are from middle school. On the cross country piece, there are 2 8th graders and 1 7th grader. If those students are not in the team, the girls cross country team would not be able to earn points and even win or have a chance to win any of their matches. On the boys soccer piece, the boys soccer number was lower. Again, as an athletic director, I want to see as many kids participate as possible. And given the number at the time when boys soccer tryouts was occurring, it wasn't looking that great, where if varsity had a full roster of 20 plus kids, then you're really going to be leaving very little for the JV. So if someone were to get hurt or someone were to not stop playing or for various reasons, it would leave that JV team with very little players. And as an AD, different schools in the past, I always
accommodated schools that had to adjust, but I hated receiving phone calls because it was sad that, you know, we don't have a full team. Can we play 7-on-7 or can we play 9-on-9? And when the numbers were hovering at the time, I didn't want to see that happen, so it just made more sense to allow those 3 boys to participate and have a good solid number, and hopefully those kids stay all the way through and just have that much more experience.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Actually, one other question.
Oh, sure.
Snack Shack.
How is the Snack Shack?
How is it being managed at the moment?
As far as
Has everyone been able to, you know, make their adjustments? Have you been part of working with any of the boosters on that? Does everyone have the adequate space they need for storage as they're coming into the year, things like that?
As far as the Snack Shack is concerned, I guess, the big question that I've been asked is for a key to get in so that people can put their stuff in.
For me.
I do know that, well, at the field hockey game and at the boys soccer game, it seemed to be working fine. They were selling pizza, chips, candy, Gatorade, soda, water.
Yeah, just drinks and packaged drinks and pizza.
For the most part, I think that was. I think that as far as I was involved as much, that's kind of what they needed, and that's how I fulfilled it. I do know that one of the closets, the groups are waiting for some stuff to be relocated so that it can open up a little more space for the high school athletic teams, and that should be done, I think, relatively quick, within the next week or so. But other than that, that was my extent in the involvement of the concession stand.
I just knew space was tight, so I just didn't know how that was being managed.
Yeah, I know. Mr. Londa and I and the superintendent and Mr. McGrath, we met about some stuff that is in that needs to get taken out and disposed of, and just trying to tidy it up and lock things down as best we can. We have a plan of attack to do that.
Refrigerators?
Yeah. So we don't have to store like 8 broken refrigerators.
Yeah.
And even though, just in case, you know, we need to use the parts, it's good to have on hand, but, you know, I think we can part with them. But, yeah, we're working on that piece of disposing those and making sure that everybody has the space that is needed for storing and whatnot. And the chair and I, we had spoke the other day at was it last night? This whole week has blended together for me. Last night about making sure that all the teams have enough space to store what's needed to store.
And also field house access. Has that been all sort of scheduled out, or how that's working? Each team is, if they're home, they have access to.
The field house has been open. If anybody wants to use it, they're more than welcome to. I know for all the games and practices, the bathrooms have been unlocked.
Okay.
If anybody, no one's. I mean, the 2 games that have occurred, they, for the most part, soccer and field hockey, they stay on the field at halftime because it's usually shorter. But if anybody, just as teams have asked to use the turf or use the grass, the coaches have worked very well with each other to switch and make sure things like that. And the same with the field house goes. No one has really asked, can we use it at this time? If they did, then we would accommodate that. It's primarily been used a good amount for football, watching the film. I know they've been in there a little bit, but no one really else has asked to use it, which if they need to, then we'll make sure whatever we need to do to allow them to use it happens. But again, that hasn't been brought up to me. If it has to you.
I can only see that happening when it cools off.
No, I was just curious because those are also part of the athletic piece aside from all of this, just sort of the space management. So I was just seeing how space management is going.
The space management, as far as everything has been going on, I mean, the teams have equally been using the turf. Today was a little unfortunate due to the lightning and weather outside, cheer was supposed to be practicing in the gymnasium. However, at the same time, football was supposed to be practicing as well. And the football team's a lot bigger than the cheerleading team, so the cheerleaders I had to ask to relocate to the auditorium where they could fit comfortably. I couldn't fit comfortably in my football team in the auditorium. I'm sure there was some type of football players were involved, but I didn't want to squeeze them all on the stage, play flag patterns and whatnot. So that was unfortunate because I hate to relocate teams like that, but it was just one of those things today where logistically that's where people could fit. But everybody's had equal practice time on the turf, equal games on the turf, and grass. I really don't, to my knowledge anyways, everybody seems to be fine, the coaches, unless, like I said, you have heard otherwise, please, if you have, I'd be
No,
more
I
than
was
happy
mostly
to.
just looking for a report so that, as we're talking.
I got you. No, I wasn't expecting any of that, but no, I'm glad.
Covering all bases.
But yeah, as far as things will go, the 3 weeks that I've been here, everything seems to be going as best it can, and getting better each day, I feel. The people that I meet and the coaches and kids that I interact with, it's been a blast so far. So, yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
Just his name.
That's Mr. Bunnell, James Bunnell,
Thank you.
the new athletic director. He has great communications, too, that he sends out to the high school.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any questions?
I don't have any.
Nope.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We did the back-to-school in your report, right? So now it's the Bengals fall season agreement, so that's you.
Yeah. So I was prepared to come forward tonight. I thought that we had reached an agreement with the Bengals, but I had a communication come in today, so I think that we need to follow up and further clarify. And hopefully I'll be coming back to you at the next meeting with something that's truly ironed out.
Do you all want to discuss
Yeah.
now?
Is it a good number for both? Was it a number that was agreeable to the Bengals?
It was a number that was proposed by the Bengals.
Okay.
And we were just trying to come to an agreement on what all would be included with that price point. In the communication today, maybe there's a possibility that we need to look at this as an hourly proposal at this point. But we're happy to go back and iron out some of the details that came in with the communication today.
Do you mind?
Can Chuck come over here?
So,
We just got it very late today.
that's okay. So Chuck Cordemosh, 41 Cortland Circle. So President of the Bengals, as we all know, sat here a couple months ago as well. Really kind of been dealing with this for like a year now. So, but I was glad that we were able to come to an agreement on the dollars, on the number for this year. So that was good. What Dr. Burnham's referring to is after going through the sort of the details behind it in terms of what would be included in our usage, it occurred to me that there was a restriction in there that just said, 4 home games, and it occurred to me that that might not be the best way to say that, meaning that it's not just the way that the schedule worked out this year. It's not just straight up 4 days. It's more hourly. It has to be looked upon as more hourly because the tackle football schedule came out first, right? And as you may or may not know, we have another program called Flex Football for the younger kids. So for kindergarten first and second and third, we offer Flex Football. And what that is, just a real brief synopsis for you on it, it's flag football, but they have like foam helmets basically and shoulder pads, and they're learning techniques that will benefit them for tackle. So it's a little bit more advanced flag football. Anyways, so it's a new first-year program for AYF, right, for Central Mass AYF. And so for that reason, that schedule came out second. So what I did when I initially reserved the time through School Dude, right, I think it is, I had initially reserved enough time for what I thought would be normal, which is 4 or 5 home games with all the teams playing at home, right? Well, as it turned out, the flex football schedule is a little bit different than the tackle schedule, and they weren't able to set it up so that we would have home games for them on the same days we would have for tackle. So, does everybody follow?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So the way it worked out is we're basically going to have a few days, a few Saturdays, a few weekends where it's going to be like flex will play, the younger kids will play for like an hour. Let's just say they have an hour basically booked on a Saturday, for example, and the tackle teams will then take their 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is, whatever it comes out to be on the Sunday, right? Normally what would happen is it would go, kindergarten first, second, third, fifth, all the way up, right? And you'd be done after a long 6 to 8 hour day or whatever that ends up being. So when I looked at the agreement and passed it along to the board and we saw, the 4 home games only, it sort of was like, as long as we're talking about this and going through, negotiations as it be, I think it's important to make sure that everything's right and there's no confusion going forward, right? I completely view this, as I've told you, as an opportunity, right, to fix this, right, and to get everybody on the same page and get what we determine to be not just a good number going forward, but also expectations going forward, right, in terms of what we are using the turf and the fields for. So when we saw that, I suggested that it might be better to look at this from an hourly perspective, right? So instead of saying 4 home games, right, we might say 6 hours, on a weekend or 8, or whatever it turns out to be, right? Based on what we need. So I thought that was really where that was coming from. Hopefully that provides a little clarity for you all on that. Like I said, it was we were able to come to that agreement, and the other piece of it, which I was happy about, was the cheerleading aspect of it. Is there was some question about how it would work out for them and what they should be allowed to use for facilities to practice, and that to me is just something that's really important to the program. They have huge numbers this year, and it's sort of non-negotiable. We have to make sure they have ample place to practice and time. So once we get through this piece here, our next concern is what do we do going forward, right? So in the meeting in late July, well, I don't remember the exact date, we had talked about the plan would be we would negotiate a dollar figure for this year that made sense for both sides. We'd come to an agreement there, start practicing in the meantime, negotiate in good faith, and then work towards what ultimately we'd like to see, which is an hourly-based rate tied to our numbers and our registration numbers. And the reason we ask for that is, we can't possibly commit to a flat number each year, not knowing what our numbers are going to be, right? So that was our thought process behind that, but just wanted to provide an update of where we're at. So came to an agreement on a number, working out details on the specs around it, if you will, and then next concern is going forward, what do we do, right? Because I think we, said ad nauseum at this point, $8,500, it's not sustainable, for us. I mean, so we need to figure out a way to get past that. So that's kind of what we're hoping to talk about today, or if you have any updates from your end or any thoughts. And of course, I know there's a lot of supporters here, so I'll be quiet and let them talk if they have any comments.
Well, that is a part of our budget process for next year.
Okay.
Okay, so when we start working on our budget process, we have to take into consideration the bond that we are going to pay, and hopefully that we can absorb that in our budget so that youth athletes don't have to pay a huge amount of money towards the bond.
Right.
So that's part of our plan going forward for the next season, next year's budget.
That's fine.
Okay?
Yep.
So once we start working on that, and she gets a really good look at our budget, we're hoping that the school will just absorb the bond payment, and then athletics, youth organizations would just be a different way we work it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I think that would be ideal. And I would like to say that, I don't see that he's still here, maybe he is, but yeah, James. That was just speaking.
Oh, he left.
He has been really good. I've had a really good, again, a pretty good rapport with him. And, in fact, we had talked about having Player of the Week for the Bengals. Go out with the captains for the coin toss.
Oh, for football.
Yeah, for football, excuse me. He was fully supportive of that. We weren't able to make it work this week. But I'm working on that also with Coach Boone, as well as some other items. As I've told you before, my main goal is bridge that gap between Blue Knights and Bengals, make sure we have a really strong feeder system, make sure that the numbers continue to grow here in town for football, and make sure football is viewed as an important piece of athletics in town and a priority. As I've mentioned a million times, we have a really rich history in this town of football, and I think the high school team is poised for a very good year, actually. So hopefully that'll also increase some participation numbers going forward. Any questions for me?
So we just have to work on the language.
Yes, that's really what it's coming to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So do we think that we can have an offer extended and then, payment
Figure
within
out
a certain time frame, or would that be part of the contract, just when
It'll
payment
be
would
It'll be
part of the contract?
in the contract.
Typically, it's in the past few years, it's been anywhere between October and November, that we end up with the payment. We get the invoice usually around then, but, again, opportunity to do things in a way that makes more sense. That's great. We're open to, anything, but, at this point, we remain hopeful, and it sounds like there may be some hope there, for us to be fiscally responsible, this year, and make sure that we're, able to go about our business with, and keeping equipment up to date and all that fun stuff, and be able to do all that we do for the kids. So that part we're looking forward to. But that's it for me.
Okay, so you are going
We'll be back to
pound it out.
Yep. Mr.
Yeah.
Wonder and I
Okay.
will look over
Mm-hmm.
the details of the communication that you sent
Sure.
today.
And there might have been some problems with your emails. I believe I had sent over.
The whole town.
Yeah, it was awful.
Well, there was I had said, in the last meeting I had watched it, that it was brought about that you hadn't heard back from me, but I sent 3 emails, so it was, yeah, and so to me that was a little concerning, because as we, I don't want the Bengals certainly to be known as, and myself, I'm somebody that's, really diligent about following up, so I was like, man, that bothered me, because I've sent 3 emails, so that to me is just a personal thing, but maybe that shed some light as to why that was.
Mystery solved.
Sure. Yeah. I hope you find those emails in email heaven or whatever.
Because we were surprised that we didn't hear from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, any feelings you have, maybe you'll find them very quickly.
Because we actually thought we had the number last time.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So the other part, just so that everybody's clear, in terms of negotiation, the superintendent and Mr. Londa, they're going to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
The school
we don't-
committee's piece is that we're brought a recommendation for approval.
Right.
Because sometimes I think that, especially in public forums online, the thought is if there's a concern or an issue, that the school committee will solve it. It's theirs to take care of, and in this case, personnel, there's certain things, Heather read at the beginning of the meeting, our charge and our responsibilities and our duties. So just so it's clear, we're going to look for that recommendation to come and then work from there as a school committee. That's where our piece of it comes in.
The budget. Mr. Beardmore.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that first of all, I'm glad this is approaching resolution. I'd like to recommend that as you prepare to move into the budget season for next year, and think about all of the fees that are being collected for our fields and space for athletics throughout the school department and the town, that the school department, the parks department, and perhaps the town as a whole, as represented by the Board of Selectmen or your designees, sit down and really shake this thing out across the board. Because the school department is using Parks Department land. There are various organizations that are using both Parks Department and school department land. And in my mind, looking at what I've been able to see, there's no rhyme or reason to who's doing what, who's paying for what, how it applies on a per user basis, or wear and tear on the facility or anything else. It's pretty arbitrary at this point. And so my hope would be, looking forward, paying these user fees, that I would know going into fiscal year 2020 that there's some level of fairness and somebody's taken a sort of a comprehensive view of this thing and come to some place where it's not just a relationship between one organization and the superintendent or your designee, but it's a relationship that the town has and sort of come to agreement on that this is a fair and equitable way of using our facilities and remunerating the school or the Parks Department or the town for the use of that space, janitorial staff, wear and tear, that sort of thing, and helping us to become more confident that we're being treated fairly. And I believe that that's going to take a significant effort and amount of time to figure that out. So I would ask you to get moving on that sooner rather than later.
Okay. And, you know, I did talk to the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and he did reach out to, so that we could have a workshop. So that could be a topic in our workshop meeting.
Good. Glad to hear it.
As you said, many lines cross in every which way. I mean, Parks has things come to them that aren't under them, but people are using field, you know, space that's theirs. It's tracking it and how the equitability clearly is, you know, something that the town's going to have to work together with us. We're all the moving parts have to work together.
Mr. Rogers.
Very quickly. I think it's really important that everyone be reminded of the fact that this is part and parcel of the fabric of our town, much like all sorts of ancillary things within the school is part and parcel of the fabric of the town. And I'm sure that we can work this out as long as we don't get into the weeds and the minutia of this and say, well, for another half hour, this, I mean, that's not the way it should go, in my view. And I'm familiar with the budgetary process that the school goes through. And on occasion, during the school year, they take from Peter to pay Paul. And I understand that. And I'm here this evening to ask that we take from Peter and Paul and we make sure that the bonding is taken care of so that we can go forward with the Bengals and offer this as maybe a solution to the overall problem. Teachers come, teachers go, and sometimes there's a delta because you can't really take really an accurate look at what the numbers are going to be. So there has to be some differences here. And all we have to do is to take $500 10 times, and we've solved the problem as it relates to the bonding, which, if anybody wants to hear the story behind the story, and I don't know you don't want to hear it tonight, it's, you know, there's more to it, okay? And we don't have to go down that road. But what we have to do is to work cooperatively, as we are, to solve this problem for everybody's benefit. And I'm confident that we can do that and look forward to the expeditious solution that I know that all these good people will come up with. Thank you.
I think, as you can see, and as I keep saying, there's a passion following for the Bengals, and we love that, and I think that's what made us so great for the past 47 years. So, and hopefully, you know, we keep that in mind as we work together, right? And as I've said, we figured this out for the past 47 years. I feel like we can continue to do that. But it is, as I said, we are a fabric of the community, and we're continuing to find ways to reach out to the community through the Bengals Get Back program, everything. So, but there's a lot of kids out there that are really excited to play football right now, and we're already, you know, 6 weeks into it with practice and now games, and I got to tell you, it's been really good so far. There's just been a lot of great stuff going on. I've seen a lot of new friends made, particularly in the younger grades, you know, because of football. So it's been pretty nice. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Joe?
No agreement in place in home games this Saturday. Are we still allowed to push forward with the games on Saturday even though there's no contract signed right now?
I don't see a problem with that. I think if we were to get to a point of impasse, we would just work out an hourly invoice for time used.
Yeah, it's all in.
I'm pretty sure.
It's in school duty and approved, and
Yeah.
we've been working on it. Sorry?
Yeah, I thought we were almost...
Yeah. No, that's fine. You know, and then the concessions thing, you know, obviously we continue to work through that. So it's, I will say just one thing. It's very frustrating when you go to other schools and other games, whether it be as close as Air or Gardner or Clinton, whatever we go to, they all have a snack shack that is far less than we have. It is inferior. It is emphasis on the shack part. It is so bad. And I had said in an email, I try not to vent too much in these emails, but most of them didn't even have async. Not letting run a 3-bay sync. We at least have async. We actually have 2-bay. And there is an individual that would donate a 3-bay sync to us. I know that's not the only problem, but I truly hope everybody in this room can understand how frustrating that is to go up after a game or an away game and buy a hot dog or a hamburger or a walking taco. And here, I'm like, can I get a prepackaged Gatorade, please? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard, and I'm hopeful the pendulum can swing back on that as well, because that is a huge piece of our revenue, as you know. That's something we have to figure out this year now in terms of how we are going to pay for the reps and the EMTs, and that's going to hurt. So I'm hoping someone out there is working on that as well. We actually have our concessions representative, Shayna, over there who manages it for us, and so if there's any updates on that.
Jim is not here.
And Jim's doing that, right?
Jim is the rep.
Right.
And they have been working on that.
Yeah.
And right now it's just in that pizza prepackaged mode.
There was a tent at one place where they just had a table and they were serving burgers.
I heard that.
Yeah. And they fall right under the Neshoba Valley, Port Al. So it's like,
I did hear that.
So anyways, that's it for me personally, unless anybody has
Mr. Randall.
Yeah, I just want to bring back, I remember before Kate was here, there was a public forum about what do we want on the new superintendent. And one of the things that was loud and clear was the town was asking for better school and town relations. I think this is a golden opportunity to get this right, and when it does get done right, because I have confidence it will be, you will see this town come back together and some of that divide will disappear. So please put your best efforts into it so we can start that healing.
Thank you. Or capital plan, Mr. Londa.
Good evening. So the capital plan that we provided in draft at the previous meeting, this is still the same one I have. I think it meets our needs for the coming year. It is asking for a substantial amount of money in FY20, $162,000 to continue with asbestos abatement for spray-on asbestos above the ceiling. We would be trying to take care of one stairwell, the second floor, and one additional room on the first floor. This will then continue on into a second year. And at that point, we will have done with all the spray-on. We want to remove all the asbestos, but we will take care of the friable asbestos in the school. So really, I don't really have any other changes proposed from the last time you've seen this. But I think it's a reasonable plan. We will update this, of course, every year going forward.
So I don't think anybody, do you have any questions on this? I don't think you have any.
No,
Not
I think
changed our
I'm all
last
set on
meeting.
that.
Okay, so is this something that you think that you're ready to approve?
Oh, yes,
or-
we should approve this so that when capital planning
Yes.
board the committee starts, that this is the plan that we put forth to them. So I'll take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the school department capital plan fiscal year 20 through 29 as outlined.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh, public comment. Yes, please come up. Mrs. Anderson.
Hi, my name is Janet Anderson, 780 West Street. As Superintendent Burnham mentioned earlier, there was a child that went missing on Tuesday, August 28th. So I reached out to Senator Tran, not to go against Bloomberg or the schools or anything, but to see what we could do as a state point of view on how to fix these things for all schools. Unfortunately, it's just something local, but he told me I had to go to the Board of Selectmen, so I went there, but I was going to come here first. So I did ask them if they could work with you guys on making policies. Before I start, I want to tell you that I wrote what I have to say long before things started going into motion. But I do want to address to you my feelings as a parent and my point of view, so that way when policies come your way, that you can understand how I was feeling, and also kind of look at it as, okay, from the outside in. It's not just, oh, there was a quick find, you know, we saw the email, it's all good. It was not a quick find on my end, from me. To me, it was 50 minutes of sheer panic and not knowing if I did the right thing, if I should be alerting authorities, or if I should be trusting the school. And so I will be saying that. I also want to introduce myself before I get into that. I'm the Finance Committee Liaison for the school committee. So I just want to say hi on that aspect a little bit.
And remember it.
And so, to go into it. On Tuesday, August 28th, the first day of school for most children, because half kindergarten come in, half come in on the 29th, and then on the 30th, all kindergartners come in together. My daughter went missing. When I pulled up at pickup at the primary school, it's fine. My oldest daughter came to my car. I asked her where her 5-year-old sister, Aria, was, and she did not know. That is like probably the worst feeling ever, right there. I immediately alerted the lady with the walkie-talkie to let her know that I think my daughter might have gone on the bus. I had seen other kids getting pulled from the bus lines as well as from buses that were kindergarten aged, that I just assumed there must have been mix-ups already. I completely understand that the first day of school and the first couple weeks in general are very chaotic, especially for that age group. I waited at the stop sign for 5 minutes because I was asked to pull up so that the pickup line could keep going. When I was there, I saw the music teacher, Mrs. Swenson, coming towards my car with a big smile. I thought she recognized me. I found out today she didn't. She then approached my car and said, "Who are you looking for?" At this point, I went into a little bit of a panic mode because I had already alerted somebody, and they asked me, I didn't say this, but they asked me my daughter's name and what bus she could possibly be on. So in my mind, things were already going along the lines of finding her. She said, "Do they know that she's missing?" And I said no. Well, I said I told her, but, you know, I don't know what's going on. So she went, and she actually ran. And I really appreciated her running because at this point, things were getting chaotic in my mind as to why doesn't she know? Like, I understand she didn't have a walkie-talkie, so maybe that's why. But there's a good amount of staff that was out there, so I was kind of under the impression that things were getting checked already. They casually walked back to my car, and at this point, the buses had started to leave. So I'm like, "Excuse me, can you stop the buses?" I got told no, and I'm going to start over here because I just briefed up that page there. Instead, I was told If she is on the bus, she will be dropped off at home. If she's on the bus, there is a possibility she was not on the bus, and I want that to be known. You should be able to beat the buses if you leave now. I replied with, what if she isn't on the bus? She said, if she is on the wrong bus, they will bring her back to extended day. But in my mind, I'm still wondering, is she on a bus? But at the same time, I'm wondering, well, if she's on a bus, I better go. So I left. It was another 45 minutes before I found out where my daughter was. And that was because I called my husband to let him know what was going on. And thankfully, I got through to him because he was in a work training. He immediately called the bus company. It took about 20 minutes, and they were still saying that they couldn't reach bus 3. He then called the primary school, which at this point I'm still thinking that the staff knows. And they didn't. Nobody in the office knew that this was going on. So that was 20 minutes right there that happened that staff wasn't alerted. Some back and forth went between phone calls. They found my daughter on bus 3. I did get a phone call after. Literally saw the bus right before my stop. She's a 5-year-old girl. It was like in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s that day. My concern was if she had walked off, she didn't have water with her. At least she was supposed to drink all her water at school. She had a backpack that was never emptied fully from donations to the classroom. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. She's small. And she doesn't, and I'm not trying to be like, understand my point of view even more, but she has a speech impediment that even if someone might have been talking to her, they might not fully understand what she was saying. She doesn't know her address yet, which is something I'm going to be working on, believe me. Phone number. She knows my name. She knows she lives in Lunenburg. But those are some of the ifs running through my mind. She could have been kidnapped, and much worse. During my drive home, I was in shock to how little urgency there was about the situation. I'm very happy and pleased with how the school is going about working on the situation, though. I just want you to remember, just rethink this stuff, though, when policies come across your way. At one point, my husband was kind of blamed, saying that there was a welcome letter that stated if there was no change, well, that stated I should have sent a note in. Let me start with that. That I should have sent a note with her on how she was going to be getting home. When I registered my daughter, I put her at pickup and drop off. That's it. No in between. I quoted what this welcome letter said, and it says, parents must send a note to the school in the morning, signed and dated by the parent, if the need to change the child's normal routine after school or to dismiss the child from school early. To me, this was her normal routine. We have verified with the school that this is correct, that what we did was overlooked. I am in no way, shape, or form here to bash the schools. I'm just here from my point of view, so you understand, when, like I said, when the policies come through. I am happy to say that Mr. McKenna did reach out to the resource officer to try to get a new protocol in place for the next day and for permanent. Protocols are great. The policies need to be written so that way when staff does change in some point in time, they know how to keep continuing it. So it's a better change. I started looking at the current district policies under the school committee section on the lunenburgschools.net website. There were 2 spots that I thought would have information helpful for this kind of thing. The
but there was nothing about making sure our children do not get lost or go missing and what to do to solve this. Those areas are Chapter 1, Section 5110, under dismissal of students by school personnel, which is really about them being sick or punishments like suspension. The other area was Chapter 7, Section 5714, under emergency plans. That's really about other types of emergency plans, like fires and extremities like shootings and stuff like that. I feel that there should be a policy in one or both of these spots. Mr. McKenna has started writing a policy and has allowed me to work with him on putting my input in, and I really do appreciate that. I appreciate the superintendent for working with us and working with me and Mr. McKenna and the resource officer dearly. Like, to feel like I can come to them as a parent and say, this is a situation that needs to be changed, and for it to actually keep going and getting changed is huge. It's very appreciated on my part. Some things that concerned me were feeling like I was ignored because I asked for help and I didn't get it. So the communication of more walkie-talkies, like we're spoken about earlier, I am 100% behind that. Please do whatever you can so another parent doesn't have to feel this way. That kind of goes along with the communication from staff to staff. Stopping the buses if needed. For that to happen, please, do it. Just do it. If they're there, there's no reason for them to start rolling away. Making sure that the pickup and drop-off line is not a priority when someone goes missing. That's huge. You never know if they're actually going into someone else's car. It's the first day of school. She could have been like, oh, go into this car. And my daughter would have listened, because that's why she went on the bus. The teacher told her to, because the teacher thought that was her routine. Getting a hold of the bus company, again, I feel that with the help of the police and those walkie-talkies and stations or channels and whatever frequencies that they have to do, I am also behind that. I think anything to help improve this is greatly appreciated. Laminated tags, which I want to say is also in the process of, because again, Mr. McKenna has let me kind of go in and say, okay, can we also add this to what you want to do? The original tag my daughter got was this, and it ripped. Now, it didn't rip until after she came home off the bus. She just happened to fall on the walkway, and it came off. It only says K1. There was nothing about a bus, so I assumed that that meant that they knew she was pickup, because in the past, a bus number was there, which meant they were on a bus. So I didn't write anything assuming that this was what was going on. I didn't know that with the new staff and the change of things, that things had changed in a different way. This is what she had from preschool for her cubby. Clearly it's laminated, much more durable, very appreciative for stuff like that. So I reached out to him, Mr. McKenna, and I've started punching, today I was there for 2 hours with my 2-year-old, punching little buses so that the kindergartners can have new ID tags. And I plan to be going back with his approval to punch holes in them after they put all the information for the child and get them laminated as well, so that they can go and be sufficient enough. Can I interrupt you and add something to that?
Yes.
Something called a grommet punch is really good for even keeping laminated things from ripping.
Okay.
It's super easy to get from Walmart, and they're these little things, and it punches like basically like your jeans have that. It's called a grommet punch.
The little rivet.
Yeah, the little rivet thing.
Like a reinforcement.
And it reinforces. It's a metal reinforcer that keeps things from ripping off as well, and it's not expensive.
Awesome. Thank you.
Another thing is that I want to add is just pickup. I feel like these things should be given to parents before school starts. The sign was given to me on the 3rd day, technically my daughter's 2nd kindergarten day, because of our situation, which is great. These were handed out during open house last year from PTO. Again, it was after school had already started. My only improvement on this would be that maybe my son went to a different school for kindergarten, and they had a whole very strict, this is how you get your child, and if this is not working, then you just come inside and get your ID checked. But their sign wasn't a rear view mirror sign. It was actually something that you rubber band to your visor, so that way you wouldn't lose it. I know I almost lost this the other day, and I was panicking myself because I was I just told them how everyone should have these for pickup.
Well, it's also a visual distraction.
Yeah.
Being in the middle.
And it can be glared. And the other thing can also be glared. But yeah, my daughter, she didn't recognize me, so she might not be able to see me personally. But I really think that these were a good start. I just think that they could be improved. And again, laminated.
Yeah, but with your name really...
Yes, really big, bold. If it's on a white background, something that is... I didn't know where to put my name. My name is kind of long, so this little spot wasn't good enough, and I don't feel like it was big enough for me to write Anderson large. So that's why I used the yellow spot, which I feel like it's harder to see. But again, great start. I plan to keep working with Mr. McKenna if he allows me, and with Mrs. Burnham and anybody else that would take my points and allow me to say anything that I can say to help the process. I just really don't want another parent to go through this, and I am, again, very thankful that this is starting. I understand that policy changes or adding policy can take 3 meetings for you guys, I believe, before.
We have our meeting, and then we have 3 readings.
Okay, yeah.
And then feedback from the public.
So it's going to be a while, but at least something will be hopefully done sooner than later. I just want to say thank you, and just so you know, point of view.
We're so sorry you had to endure that.
I appreciate it.
I cannot imagine.
Thank you.
And I didn't realize that you had another child in the pickup line either.
Yes. You apologized yesterday in person. I just couldn't. I'm sorry. Every time I think about it, I start tearing up. But I appreciated it, and I want to say thank you again.
Well, I would like to say thank you to you, because having your perspective on this, it'll be a much better process and a much better outcome.
I really hope so.
With your vantage point on it. I think one of the things that we can think about doing next year is a parent orientation night for kindergarten parents.
I think that would be
And
wonderful.
even for the pre-K parents, so that they come in and know what the routines look like. I think you're absolutely right that the car tags need to be sent out ahead of time. There are so many things that we can do much better. There are so many things that went wrong, that complicated the solution in verifying her whereabouts. In the end, thankfully, she was safe the whole time.
Thank God.
But mother to mother, when you can't confirm where your child is, that the panic that goes through you is like no other feeling. And I never want another parent in Lunenburg to feel what you felt.
Same here. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. So we will get it fixed, and I will say that the district did spend time last year with the safety team working on emergency operation protocols for all kinds of things, like you mentioned in the policy. This actually can be one of those emergency operation protocols that's part of that. In some districts, when they pull all that together, it's not necessarily just in a thick stapled document or in a binder somewhere. They actually have flip charts that are laminated, that are in every classroom, and teachers would immediately, missing child, what do I need to do first? Because sometimes in those situations, people can panic and not know, right? Because you freeze.
Yeah.
You know.
Kind of like me, where it was like, oh, do I call the police or do I just trust that she's on this bus?
Exactly.
My mother and me feels like it failed.
Right. And honestly, had I known ahead of time that we had areas in town where there is no bus signal.
Yeah, I never knew either.
Obviously something needs to be in place when that happens, because not being able to get a radio back from the bus driver to confirm for a 20-minute period, that's not okay. It's not okay.
Right.
The lack of sense of urgency that you experience, that's not okay. The fact that your message didn't get relayed in time to stop the buses is not okay. The fact that the buses weren't stopped is not okay. So any one of those things, but this was a series of missteps.
A lot of
Yes.
misfortunes,
Yep.
but hopefully bringing a very good positive for the future. One other thing, since I'm here, just a public comment. If we could have some better lines on how people actually do the pickup for the primary, that'd be great, because a lot of people are blocking with the teachers that are trying to leave, and then everything is getting, it's already a mess, and it's already kind of a flow chart.
Yes.
That was, that's something outside their school.
And there's a challenge there at Turkey Hill too with the parking lot, you know.
And the
with one.
outside.
Yeah.
So it's just, I was like, oh, they should really call the DPW on this one.
Yeah, that one has been a trick.
Yeah, I just thought like a nice little stop sign, stop until this area is free or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And they have the visitor spot when people block them.
Yeah, and the handicap where the buses.
They block them.
Yeah. And I know every year it's always challenging trying to get that because of all the new kindergarten parents that are picking up as well.
And they get out of their car.
Yes, a lot of things that need to, I feel, be presented before school starts.
Sure.
That would be ideal for their orientation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, what every parent needs to know, and there can be a packet that they leave orientation night
FAQs.
with.
Yes.
You know, so there are things that we can do and have done immediately to make things better at dismissal time and getting kiddos to the right spot for pickup or off to the bus. But there are more things that we can do to make things even better moving forward. Thank you very much.
And if you ever need any help at the schools, I'm available like all the time.
I want to know how to read really well.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that down pat easily.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Walmart, and I want you to buy whatever you need. Just as a little something. No, that film, we just go
He's not even getting that on film.
I don't know if I can accept this.
Of course you can. Of course you can. Of course you can. Oh, 50's the limit. Believe me, I know. You're welcome.
Ed Oliva, 62 Charles Street, Lunenburg. I did address the board. I want to address the committee tonight. Family, friends, the principal of the school. I had an incident back in May, and we discussed it before. My daughter played 4 years of field hockey and lacrosse within the school system. I participated in almost every game I could go to. Back in May of this year, I went to the Snack Shack and tried to purchase a banquet ticket to the lacrosse banquet, and I was denied that ticket. I asked several times, and I was refused a seat at the banquet. So I went and saw the principal the following day. Assistant principal discussed it with him, and he said he'd see what he can do. Any parent should be able to go to their son or daughter's doesn't matter if it was a senior banquet, sophomore banquet. He got back to me a week later and told me there was nothing he could do. Thank you for calling me last week. Katie called me last week and discussed with me that it was a booster event, and that they, in her perspective, that the booster club could do what they want to do. The reason I'm here tonight is I can't, as a parent, I'm not going to accept that. I think that it's very important that parents, whether it's mother, father, friends, family, relatives, should all be able to go to a banquet, and they should all be invited. I think last time I stood up and I discussed, I got an invitation to Monty Tech Senior Week. I had friends and family that went to Monty Tech this past year, and they encouraged, the letter said, we encourage mothers, fathers, relatives, family, everybody's welcome to their events, and it was beautiful. I mean, the awards banquet was beautiful, although I did go to the awards banquet here. It wasn't an invite thing, it was very nice. Also, 2 weeks ago, I got invited to Slattery. Slattery does a road race every year, and I don't know if you're aware of it, but two Lunenburg students did receive a $1,000 check, and it was Jess. She ran cross country and track. I don't know Jess's last name.
It's Nori.
And Jake Netta. And when the owner of Slattery's got up at the banquet, and the race president turkey trot, the 50-year turkey trot race president. They encouraged, in fact, parents, friends, relatives, significant others, for everybody to come to this event because it made the event to have everybody there. And it was nice. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way Lunenburg should be. You should be encouraging. We all should be encouraging parents, friends, relatives, significant others, whoever, to go to these events. And the fact that I was denied a seat to this banquet, I just will never accept. And I want to get on the I want to get on the agenda for the next meeting and discuss maybe the policy of whether it's a booster club or it's a Lunenburg high school sanctioned event. But you can't let a parent not be invited to an event. There's no reason for it. And that's why I'm here tonight, and I'm reiterating what I said 2 weeks ago, and I'd like to get on the agenda for the next meeting, and maybe we can come to a solution. But I just can't accept the fact that you would not want a parent to go to an event. And it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And don't want to see it happen to another parent. Whether it's a mother, father, uncle, grandparents, whoever. My father wanted to go to this event, and he wasn't allowed to go, and there's just no reason for it. And it's got to be addressed, and I don't want to see it happen to anyone else. And if I'm the one that has to plow the way through for others, I'll do it. But I mean, it's important. And it was all positive things tonight in this meeting. I'm glad I sat through this whole night, because everything was positive here, and it's a great school system. But the fact that you don't encourage parents to go to an athletic event, it just doesn't make any sense at all. Maybe we can discuss it. I know you had a long night tonight, but we can discuss it at a further date.
So just as a point of information, after I did some research into the situation, the scenario, consulted with the school department attorney, and the booster clubs are not part of the school department, and the school committee therefore really would not have any jurisdiction over
a policy,
the events that they run, because they aren't run by the school department.
So they're of their own jurisdiction.
Yeah, they don't fall under school committee purview per se. They aren't part of the school department. So that just as a point of information.
So creating a policy for them wouldn't be, you couldn't hold that up, because we can't really tell them what to do, basically.
Right. I mean, I can inquire again with the attorney as to whether or not there can be policy, and I don't know what that answer will be legally.
We would have to seek legal guidance on that policy anyway, because there are certain parents that have restraining orders, or there are legals and there are safety issues. You can't just write a policy that says all parents are invited to students' functions.
Right.
You just can't. There's so much more to consider there.
Right.
You know,
So last year when I went to my daughter's field hockey banquet, I asked how much the dinners were, and they said they were $20. And I wrote a check for $150 to donate to the Booster Club. Maybe I'll think twice about doing that next time. Say, I'll ask if I'm invited first. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. This board right here, you can't allow an outside booster club. I wouldn't if I was in one of those seats. I wouldn't let a booster club tell me that, oh, we can do what we want to do. It's wrong. This is a representation of Lunenburg right here, this board, and you're allowing a booster club to say to a parent, he can't go, or she can't go. It doesn't make any sense. It's bizarre. I've never heard of such a thing. I've talked to several parents, and parents that went to the banquet, and they laughed. I talked to 2 parents last night. They laughed. They couldn't believe this. They never heard of such a thing. Never heard of such a thing. It just doesn't make any sense at all that you would deny a parent, unless there was an issue, we won't get into that tonight, but unless there was an issue with that parent, whether it was male or female, and there was a reason they couldn't go, understandable, but in this case, there was no reason why I shouldn't have been able to go to that banquet.
Madam Chairman, if I might add, and I'm going to be very brief. Much has been said about the term "no child left behind," and I support that, and much has been said about it. I would like to submit that never, ever should any parent or friend be left behind. When all else fails, common sense should prevail. And I'm talking as a person that has lived in this town for 46 years, been the master of ceremonies at countless events dealing with boosters, etc., etc., etc. Just good common sense should prevail. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
So I can inquire with the attorney, and I think perhaps the appropriate place to bring that response back is really through the policy
committee.
I would ask, I'll just say one more thing, and I'll leave you alone, but I would ask that we discuss policy of the Lunenburg High School and the Booster Club, so something like this never happens again. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
I'd like to say one last thing about a positive thing.
Okay. I'm only going to let you say it because it's positive.
Good. Lunenburg is steeped in all kinds of historic good things, and I'm not sure if the good doctor is aware of this, but anytime there's a new change of command and a new superintendent comes in, the first meeting of the school committee that the new superintendent is present at, it's incumbent upon the superintendent to make arrangements for a social afterwards. And we've made arrangements with Cherry Hill Ice Cream. And Peter Beardmore left early so that he could put all kinds of things on people's car windows out there, and there's a bunch of them. So people can go up and get a free banana split. All they have to do is say, Dr. Burnham sent us. And sometime next week, just go by and bring out a blank check, but thanks for coming.
If you come to my community forum,
sure,
maybe I'll be giving out those little
I won't be
coupons.
going up there for any ice cream, I'll tell you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for what you do.
Okay, we're on to reports. Let's be brief because we have to go into executive session. Charter review, there was none. I did not attend, I should say. Athletic advisory, Jim is not here. He is not present to report back. Finance committee, Kara.
They did not post their minutes from their last meeting, so I don't know what happened. The next meeting is next Thursday, and I will be there.
Okay. Was this
a point of clarification for me?
Yes.
We have a liaison on
I didn't
FinCom, and I'm not sure how
I know. I
this
didn't never
should be
heard
working.
that.
I can let you know that I was asked to provide some sort of update for the FinCom, and my sense is that I shouldn't be providing anything that I haven't first provided to this body. So maybe we could get some clarification as to whether Carol should be providing updates or if I should be providing some type of report.
I think that would be good because I'm looking at this capital plan and how does that fall into FinCom and what am I supposed to do with that? And am I supposed to do something with that or I have no idea?
No, capital plan goes to capital plan.
That's different.
That's totally different. There's
That's a different meeting. That's a different meeting.
That's a different committee with different people.
Okay.
And they make
See,
the capital
that's
plan.
clarification. I didn't know that.
Yes. And then they present it to the selectmen, and then they agree on it, and then they present it at town meeting.
So what is my job going to FinCom? Is that just when we have a budget? I say this is how much the budget is?
No, you don't do that.
Then what's my job?
It's just to figure out, you're just there to listen to what they're talking about and tell us if there's anything that they bring or flag about the schools.
Okay.
So when Mrs. Anderson came in to meet with me this week in her role as a liaison, the update I provided was basically that we've hired all the open positions to start the school year, and we've remained within our salary budget. and that capital plan would be discussed at this meeting tonight.
See, you still can't see it. Well,
I know.
All right, we're going to fix it.
We gotta
Yeah.
fix it next time.
All right.
Okay, so if they're looking for more detailed information, I don't know the nature of the information that they're really looking for. So perhaps at the next meeting, perhaps you could put
I
that
could
forth
ask
to them
what-
and ask what kinds of information they'd be looking
Yes.
for?
Well, it would be a nice pleasant surprise for them to actually have a school committee member that attends their meetings.
Well,
I'm not sure that
planning
any of
on
our reps
attending
ever
my
actually
meeting.
attended.
I was planning on going.
I know, but I don't know that.
As an example, we've provided personnel updates at the last two meetings. You've got the capital plan that's been,
Right.
again, part of the last two meetings. Perhaps those are things
They're interested in.
that you could share with them.
Okay.
But it would be helpful for them to
Well, and I will
provide
ask
some more
them then.
information.
Can I chime in?
Yeah,
You can.
I'm the liaison to the school committee from the Board of Selectmen. And so I come to these meetings and I try to pick out stuff, I don't tell them about the PTO updates, but I try to pick up information that's important that the BOS would want to know. I just try to glean what I can get from this meeting that may be of interest to the Board of Selectmen and the people who are watching the Board of Selectmen meeting who might not have watched your meeting. It's pretty simple, it's cut and dry, and it's just things that you think would be of value, that the school committee would be interested in, that the finance committee is doing.
Okay.
That's kind of the way I interpret it.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
That sounds good.
And then
Okay.
policy subcommittee meeting is on Monday at 6:30 in one of the small
In the
conference
small
rooms
conference room.
down the hall. So do we have any topics for future discussion?
We have the
blizzard bags.
Oh, blizzard bags. I checked it off even though we didn't actually.
No, we didn't talk about it. So I have written out a charge
Okay, we'll put that on the next slide.
using the template that I was given, a charge from the school committee to explore the possibility to get a committee together to explore the possibility of using blizzard bags. The Department of Education calls them alternative structured learning days, but blizzard bags is what most people call them. So we would like volunteers to serve on that advisory committee. The committee would be made up of a staff representative from each building, the assistant principal from the middle high school, the assistant principal from the elementary primary schools, a high school student, 2 parents, one from the primary or elementary school, one from the middle high school, and me, which I didn't write in, school committee member. And then we would then research, does this community really want to do that? Because last spring, when it was presented, the schools were split.
Very split.
Very
It was
split.
two- it was
I mean,
two
and
and
it
two.
was
Yep, right.
quite split. So if all 4 buildings are not buying into it, you can't do it. You can't have blizzard bags in some schools and not in others. So the charge of this group would be to figure out, does this community really want to do that? Do they really believe that a day, a blizzard bag or assignment sent home does in fact replace a day in the classroom? So they would have to research the average amount of snow days per year over, I don't know, the last 10 years or so. That's easy enough to do. But then survey parents and staff and students in the 5th through 12th grade, and then hold focus group discussions with staff, students, and parents to figure out, is this something that we really want to do? Because there's no sense talking about what goes in the bag before we decide if this is a good idea or not. So my questions are, at this point, how do we select? I assume the principals select the staff member from each building. That's logical to me. How would the parents be selected?
Well, I was thinking that it would be somebody who participates on the school advisory council because they're involved in a lot of the discussions at school
Yeah, so somebody from the
So maybe
school
somebody
council.
from one of
The school, one of the-
advisories.
Yeah.
So that would be like the school advisory, the principal would talk to the people at the school
And the other
advisory.
parents
see
that
if
sit on there.
somebody would be willing to.
Because they're already involved in the
Mhm.
committee and they already talk about what's going on at the schools, at the school level.
That might be a good way to.
So observation on this timeline.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's thinking about March 2019 for a report doesn't feel realistic for more than a couple of meetings to happen as an advisory, in all honesty, because by the time all the stakeholders are appointed, school advisories they only meet every 6 weeks. There's just a lot of staggered time in there.
Okay.
So
Oh, you mean the
probably,
school, the actual advisories
yes,
themselves?
realistically, it probably would be late October at the very earliest before you would be getting a first meeting together, and it could even be into November. Then you've got December, January, that only leaves a few meetings.
Okay.
If you're talking about, it's just a thought, because if you're talking about focus groups, I mean, maybe it can happen by then.
I think that we could probably,
I think it would have to be
I
an
think we could
aggressive.
It
definitely
would
come
be
back
aggressive.
to the committee by March with some definitive information if the community does not want to do this.
Yes.
That's
Well,
the
yeah,
report.
I think that could be
I think
discerned by
if there's
March.
support for it, there's going to have to be some work done to develop quality
Yes.
curriculum.
Oh, yeah, that couldn't be done by
For the-
March.
Yes, I think
Really.
ruling it
That
out could be
not
done by March, but
Ruling
if
it
we're
out could
in-
be done, but being in and having it put together, no, that wouldn't be.
Right, so the implementation for the
That's gonna be the whole
2019
year.
school year
It's
might be
possible if you
possible,
think
okay.
that
Yes.
you use the fall season and even the
Okay.
summer to develop the curriculum. You know that your snow days are starting typically
January.
later,
Yeah.
Good
right
point.
into the
I
year.
hadn't thought about
So
that.
we
Yep.
could have some things to implement. And one of the things that I'll put out there for consideration and for the public consideration as well, you don't have to go all in blizzard bags or not. So in other words, we could decide that, you know what, on average, we have fewer than 10 days a year. Oh, okay. So maybe the committee's okay with, you know what, we're fine with making up 10 days a year. We have enough time in our calendar without having to make decisions about losing April vacation, coming to school on Saturdays, those kinds of things. But maybe in an extreme year,
Right.
where you go beyond the 10 days, maybe that's when the blizzard bags kick in.
Right.
Rather
that
than
would be
having
the
to have a
research
conversation where, are we eliminating April vacation? Are we coming to school on Saturdays? If you can have some quality, authentic projects, good quality lessons, at the high school level, as an example, you know, they use Google Classroom. They wouldn't necessarily have to complete the assignment on the
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
school day, but there's a vehicle there that enhances what can be done at the secondary grades. I think that there's a lot that we could consider, but I just want to be clear, we don't have to make an all or nothing decision.
Right.
Okay.
Right? Maybe there's a hybrid sort of model that we could consider. But again, it really all hinges on whether or not there's support in the community
And doing
for
it at all.
Right.
Yeah. So I think by March, certainly, we will have had the opportunity to
Yeah.
put the team together, develop the survey, put the survey out, leave an open amount of time for people to participate in the survey, gather and analyze the results of the survey, have some focus group discussions to follow up on, well, this is the information we're getting from the survey, we're interpreting it this way. Is that accurate? And then putting together a recommendation by March for the committee. And if the recommendation is yes, we should move forward, we'd need to start planning for curriculum development,
Right.
you know, late spring through the summer, even into the fall, for any of these projects that would be the blizzard bag assignments.
And since budget isn't decided till after that time, how would we incorporate the possibility that we would need to maybe stipend through the summer or have extra things?
I'll have to factor that in. I mean, I think as the the budget process goes on, there'll be some information, early information
We'll
from us.
have
And,
some good
I'll
ideas.
have a sense as to whether or not it's looking like a possibility. And I'll have to factor some of that in.
All right, so we have to advertise this
Yeah, how does that happen?
Do we need a motion?
to create the advisories?
You approve the
Yes,
the
but
task.
the task, the charge. But it's an advisory, so it's not like a subcommittee or...
Correct.
So you just, yes.
Right.
So I need a motion to approve the charge.
Can I do that?
You can do
it. All right. I make a motion to approve the Lunenburg Alternative Structured Learning Day Advisory Committee charge as presented.
With the addition of that school committee member?
Oh, with the addition of a school...
Committee member as the chair, yes?
As the chair.
Yes, but...
As the
okay.
chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
they're
didn't put
typically the
that in,
chair, like
sorry.
Yes, they
the chair
are.
of the
Yes.
athletic advisory.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would second the Lunenburg Alternative Structured Learning Day Advisory Committee charge with the addition of the school committee member chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
So if you can get that communication out to the building principals now, so that they can,
Yes.
gauge interest for parent participation as well as staff participation, and, here at the high school, a student, Mr. McGrath can figure out a venue for determining which student might represent the student body.
Sure.
Okay. We need topics for future discussion.
I have two.
You have two, thank you, Meredith.
Wellness advisory.
Yes,
They
I
met
just
this past
I
Tuesday.
have it written
Oh,
down.
yeah, so...
Yes.
I wrote it down.
Okay, good, you already got it.
We'll report at the next meeting.
And then, as I was going through policy, I happened across
Which one?
5204, the graduation requirements need updated.
Oh, good, we have a meeting on Monday, so we will look at that. I have, well, we can target it for the next time.
Yeah, it should be a quick fix, it's the numbers.
Numbers, yeah, the
Okay.
number of, yeah.
Okay. And anything else on there? So you're going to come back with the fall season agreement?
I hope so.
So that will be on there as old business. And then we have our new business, which is what is on our actual calendar.
Yep.
Okay.
And PTO does meet on the 10th, so I think that'll...
On Monday?
Yeah.
Oh. We'll be here on the 10th.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now we're going into executive session according to MGL C30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for contract negotiation with non-union personnel, not to return to public session.
Yes.
Meredith Weiss. Yes. Carol Archambault.
Yes.
Do I have to say Jim's name even if he's not here?
No.
To say his name?
Okay, no, okay. But he's not present, so, okay. Thank you.